I have talked to a few people on the podcast already. I've talked a lot about and thought a lot, at least for myself too, about how sort of like transformative it is to have a child. And you're almost describing something where the pregnancy is transformative. There's a lot going on in your life, but just the fact that your girl got pregnant, and you guys are what's coming. You're like, I have this clock. It's 9 months, 10 months, whatever that ends up being. I have this clock and it's running down, and I have to be prepared for whatever this is going to look like. And he said it's your first kid is coming.
Yeah.
That transformation, it's gotta feel like almost like a baptism in fire type situation, right?
I promise you, bro, that's exact words. Like, she was born October 6th, and I got hired with that pharmaceutical company in August. And just like you said, that time crunch, this sense of urgency, like I got to keep pushing and find something. Like, and when the opportunity comes to me, like I need to be ready for it, and make sure I bring that out. Like I told that same story I just told you in both of my interviews for the pharma and for the device. I told them that same exact story. Like, this is who I am. This is what it took for me to get here. Like, you're not going to teach this type of hunger and execution. I have way more than just, I want to make a lot of money type stuff on my mind. Like, this is about legacy and making sure my daughter has something that I've never had.
What does that look like? What is it? What is the end goal? What is it that you want your daughter to have that you never had?
So stability. So like when my parents got divorced, my dad, he lived in a nice house, 3 and 2, a smaller house, but big piece of land. And then when we would go to my mom's house, it was a complete opposite. She almost every year she moved apartment from apartment, drug deals up and down the street next door, like that chaotic lifestyle, like living in the hood. Like some of the kids I play with, like when I go back home every once in a while, I found out maybe like 6-7 years ago, one of the kids I grew up playing with all the time, he's in prison for life for murdering somebody. Like that's like all this crazy stuff that we're in and out of and seeing, and family members getting involved in that stuff it's crazy. So like I want her to understand where I came from, but not have to go through that. And then at the same time, all the lessons I've learned, like I've always had that ready, fire, aim mentality, and it screwed me over a lot. Like I've lost a lot of money having that, instead of like taking the time to learn the process and going through, having mentors and just going through everything to make sure I know what I don't know. So yeah, like opportunities. So like now I'm big in investments in the stock market, and during COVID, I spent time like, I got a ton of books on the shelf, but like real estate books, stock books, like I bought a bunch for Amazon and just start digging and reading outside of 2 hours, 2.5, what they need. And then the rest of the time it was watching YouTube, going on Robinhood, TD Ameritrade, like learning this stuff, because I wasn't taught that. My parents, they're paycheck to paycheck still. Like, if they don't know any better, they can't teach. So I want to be able to teach her that stuff when she's young. Like, she hits 11, 12 years old, like start instilling those things, saving money, investing money, getting it to work for you, instead of, have like putting her in a position where she can have options. Basically, like she wants to go to college, she can. If she doesn't, she wants to be an entrepreneur, own real estate, business owner, whatever it is. Like I want her to have that option,
Yeah. So one of the things that is interesting to me here is your role as a parent. You kind of have like this really you have this really clear picture of what you see your role as a father, right? You're painting this picture of supporting the family, stability for your daughter, optionality for when she grows up, preparing her for the world and preparing her for whatever roles that she wants to take, whatever that ends up looking like for her life. And I'm curious, like, did you have uh is this something that you got from your dad? Is this something that you learned even though you didn't have necessarily those things? You know, you didn't have the stability, and you described sort of what your upbringing was like, and you know, there's a lot of obviously like hurt and pain, it sounds like, that exists in that, right? But is this something that you got either through experiencing it as a kid, or is it something that you got as like saying, you know what, I didn't have this and this is what I want to develop? Or did you see it occur in your, you know, in your peers and your friends, that you kind of like picked up on where this is from? Because it just sounds like a very specific and a really powerful drive that you have, and you've been able to define it really well, you know. And I'm curious where that ability to define it came from.
Yeah, so it's a blend of everything you just said. Like, so me experiencing all that I did when I was young, like, you know, having people dealing drugs across the street, like seeing that stuff, people fighting all the time, my parents going back and forth, just a toxic relationship. And they were young, they didn't know any better. That's what they saw when they were growing up, like just no communication, that type of stuff. So I just wanted to make sure that I want to make sure she doesn't ever see that stuff. So like, I'm putting the things in place. Like, I read a ton of books on communication. My girl, she's like super empath, complete opposite of me, because I was raised up no emotion, like sit down, shut up. And that's why it was so hard. Even, you know, during CrossFit, like nobody really heard from me. It was more just posting videos, things like that, because that's my personality from how I grew up. Now I'm trying to get better at, you know, speaking about things and all that. But she helps me a lot on opening up and having more emotion. So we have a great balance, but it all comes down to the things I've experienced and then the exposure. So like when I was personal training, and I still have a lot of my clients I talk to, but I would hang out with doctors, lawyers, business owners, like multimillionaires, and see a whole different lifestyle. So you can't forget that stuff, like where I came from to what they're doing. Like, you can't forget that. And it puts me in a position, like, if I work as hard as I can and give everything I have, like, I can get that for myself. And now that I have a family, I can give that to them. And it's not about material stuff, because I've never, even to this day, like, I can care less about a huge house, cars, and all that stupid stuff. Like, it's the stability, like, that is what I need to last forever. The legacy, like the mindset, all those things that I've built myself into because of all the mentors, experience, all that, like, that's what I need to transfer to her. So when life punches her in the face, she's ready for it. You know, she can stay focused and tunnel vision on it. And, you know, whatever she's going after, she can achieve it.